On August 3, 2024, a team of federal agents stepped across the threshold of a log cabin on the outskirts of Davenport, Iowa. The second floor was eerily quiet, as if the space there was holding its breath, preserving the final moments of a story that had never been told. The bedroom of Danielle Colby, a woman once known as an eccentric yet captivating figure on the reality TV show American Pickers, was now a crime scene. No body, no screams, but blood had been found. Bloodstains trickled from the corner of a mirror frame, spreading slowly across the wooden floor as if it didn't belong to a specific moment, but rather a memory, replaying itself. No one had ever imagined that a place once used for collecting antiques, soft lighting, and old jazz records could hide a ritual. But the agents found more than just blood. They uncovered a mirror, intricately carved with a spiral symbol, identical to the images found on medieval manuscripts. What did Danielle uncover? Is she the keeper of a secret, or a victim of knowledge no one was meant to know? The blood in that room isn't just evidence. It could be the final reminder. Because once you've seen the truth, you'll never sleep peacefully again. The big question is, do you think Danielle Colby is connected to Frank Fritz's death? Or is she simply a victim of an unfathomable secret? If you believe she's involved, leave a 1 under this video. If you think it's a misunderstanding, comment 0, enjoy the video, don't forget to drop a sub to support our channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on the next exciting videos. Thank you for watching. Born and raised in Davenport, Iowa, Danielle worked in the world of burlesque, a form of classic performance art, and also founded a fashion brand located just 4 miles from Memphis. However, the real turning point came when Danielle took on the role of office manager at Antique Archaeology, a store owned by Mike Wolfe. From there, she was brought into the show American Pickers, initially just to answer phones and manage schedules. No one could have predicted that the only woman on the crew who didn't drive around or scavenge with the others would become the standout character of the show with her pin-up style, full-body tattoos, and carefree attitude while working alongside her 2 male co-stars. Danielle gradually became the new icon of women in the reality TV world. Her fan page quickly surpassed 500,000 followers after just 2 seasons, along with a series of invitations from designers, art magazines, and even international touring groups. From someone working behind the scenes, she became the one standing in the spotlight. However, the camera lights never touched the darkness. The more famous she became, the more silent she grew about her personal life, a peculiar trait for a public figure. Danielle rarely revealed anything about her family, avoided discussing her private life or any romantic relationships, and remained completely silent about her relationship with the 2 main stars of the show, Mike Wolfe and Frank Fritz. This led to growing speculation. Some former crew members shared that the relationship between Colby and Mike seemed to go beyond the ordinary boundaries. They mentioned that she would often enter Mike's private room, a place no one else was allowed to go, and the 2 would speak in code or communicate through devices not connected to the internal system. When Frank Fritz unexpectedly left the show in 2020, the official explanation was due to health issues. But shortly after, Frank himself admitted that things were no longer the same, and someone had completely changed the atmosphere behind the scenes. Notably, in a brief interview before his death, When asked about his relationship with Colby, Frank gave a cryptic response. "Honestly, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like an outsider, and someone really wants it that way." In September 2024, Frank Fritz passed away under unclear circumstances following complications from a stroke. The medical report cited the cause as prolonged cerebral circulatory failure, but it couldn't explain why his condition deteriorated so suddenly within just 12 hours, despite having had a normal conversation with his caregiver the night before. The initial investigation found nothing suspicious until the FBI received an anonymous email from someone claiming to live in the shadows of Colby. The message was only a few lines long. "If you want to know the truth about Frank, check the bedroom upstairs. Don't trust the image she's trying to sell you. There are things there that should not exist." The last line raised particular concern among the agents. The mask was no longer silent. The FBI immediately expanded the investigation, tracking all financial transactions, communication history, and movements of Danielle K. They discovered a series of small money transfers from a company called Orchid Vale LLC, an entity of unknown origin registered in Luxembourg. Danielle's computer had once connected to a server located in Reykjavik, Iceland, part of a private encrypted network often used by Western secret societies to exchange information. However, all of this still wasn't enough until the investigation team uncovered that the security cameras in Cole's house had a long blind spot right at the position of the bedroom. That's when the official search warrant was signed and issued. The FBI knew that the upstairs room wasn't just where she slept. It was where the truth was hidden. 2. The raid and the second-floor door. AM. The air in Iowa was still chilly, even though summer had begun. Mist clung to the black FBI SUV parked along a quiet street. No sirens blared. No lights flashing. Only the soft echo of the agents' footsteps as they spread out in formation. Everything unfolded quickly, quietly, and precisely. The task force, consisting of 9 FBI agents working in coordination with Homeland Security officers, carried encrypted devices, 360-degree cameras, thermal sensors, and a psychological response expert. Danielle Colby's house sat modestly in a neighborhood known for having some of the highest real estate values in the area. From the outside, the house seemed unremarkable. White walls, a gray tiled roof, a classic wooden gate, and a balcony adorned with lavender flowers. A neighbor later commented, "She was always quiet but never suspicious. More like a person painting at midnight than someone plotting murder." When the agents knocked on the door, Danielle opened it immediately, showing no surprise. She wore a loose-fitting nightgown, her hair tousled, and her face makeup-free. She neither screamed nor questioned the situation, nor did she resist. She simply remained silent and turned back inside as if she had been expecting this moment for a long time. The agents monitored her physiological responses. Her heart rate and breathing showed no signs of panic. They found this unusual. Within 30 minutes, the ground floor and first floor were thoroughly inspected. Nothing illegal was found, but everything was not entirely normal either. A table was arranged in an odd manner, aligned northward next to a dry fern under a UV light. Geometric symbol sketches were interspersed with notebooks containing poems in French, Latin, and Old German. However, the real suspicion was confirmed when the team reached the second floor. The door at the end of the hallway leading to the bedroom was the only door in the house secured with both a mechanical lock and an electronic one. Danielle did not provide the code. When asked, she simply smiled and said, "If you can open it, then maybe you should check everything very carefully." It took 18 minutes and an electronic lock-picking device to break the door. The task force immediately sensed that something was wrong. Inside, there were no windows, no natural light. The entire room was illuminated by a low-intensity UV light system. The walls were completely covered with hand-drawn spirals, eye symbols, and ancient sayings. Each wall had a theme. The west represented awakening. The east represented enlightenment. The south represented concealment. And the north housed a large wooden table. Confrontation. In the center of the room stood an antique ebony wooden table with a black painted box sealed with waxed string and red oil paint, bearing a strange symbol, a circular spiral surrounding an eye with rays extending in 8 directions. This symbol was identified as belonging to the Oculus Veritas organization, a secret society mentioned intermittently in 13th century records, condemned as heretical by the Spanish Inquisition, and banned from being mentioned in France during the 18th century. Beside the box was a standing mirror with a greenish brass frame that failed to reflect the viewer's image, despite being tested under various lighting conditions. Behind the mirror was a faded black-and-white photograph that seemed to depict Danielle in a meditative state, sitting cross-legged in front of an altar. Her hands were placed on an object obscured by blinding light. Beneath the photograph was a handwritten note. "The third gate opens at 3:33 a.m. Nearby, the artifacts were arranged as though part of a ritual altar. A glass jar containing human hair. A small copper urn engraved with the word vitriolum, a mysterious keyword often found in Hermetica manuscripts. A leather-bound book written in ancient Greek hieroglyphs and Egyptian hieroglyphs. A tape recorder continuously recorded the atmosphere in the room, though no one was listening. After thoroughly inspecting the floor, investigators discovered a small gap near the bookshelf. Removing a wooden plank, they found a hidden compartment containing a notebook, a stack of documents, and several items wrapped in dyed linen. One of these items was a small ebony statue depicting a figure with its mouth tightly sewn shut with red thread, matching the description of a sealing ritual from the ancient Fraian culture. A field agent later reported that when he held the statue, he suddenly felt an intense itch in his throat and was unable to speak for several minutes. A psychological field analysis was immediately conducted. The space assessment specialist concluded that the room no longer served as a living space, but was intentionally designed for spiritual purposes, incorporating elements of cognitive control. Notably, all the items were legally clean. None of the objects were identified as illegal artifacts or in violation of any laws. However, the arrangement and documents found later suggested a thought structure that went beyond typical collecting behavior. A printed document pinned to the northern wall contained an astonishing revelation. A list of 17 names was written in symbols resembling ancient Samaritan script. After decoding, The names matched individuals who had worked on the American Pickers production crew, including Frank Fritz, marked in black ink with a note that said, "Seen." When the agents flipped through the notebook beneath the cloth on the table, the first line written in red uppercase letters read, "This is not where I sleep. This is where I awaken." The entire room was sealed off. The items were labeled with coded tags and sent to a national analysis facility in Langley. Danielle Colby remained seated downstairs, asking no questions, requesting no lawyer, and saying nothing except for one last statement before being taken away. "If you've seen it, then you should know that I've kept silent for as long as I could." From that moment, the investigation completely shifted from personal suspicion to an inquiry into forgotten knowledge. Because what the FBI found inside the bedroom was not just evidence, but a gateway to things no one was prepared to face. 3 objects that should not have been there. When the FBI's field response team transported all the items discovered in Danielle K's bedroom to the Langley headquarters for inventory, no one anticipated the need to consult not only archaeologists, but also experts in symbolism, neuroscience, and even scholars of forbidden religions. Initially, the items were considered strange but legal. However, as investigations progressed, many aspects began to challenge conventional explanations. The first item was a meticulously rolled goat hide scroll sealed with wax, emitting a scent reminiscent of lavender. When unrolled, geographers noticed a map depicting a lowland region south of the Appalachian Mountains. However, it did not match any modern maps. The marked points used spiral symbols similar to those found in ancient Hopewell burial mounds. According to local legend, this area was once called the Land of the Sleeping, where the dead dreamed of the future. A black ink annotation reads, "Here, the third eye opens for the first time. The path to the mirror is no longer locked." Next, there was an ancient book written in a blend of Sanskrit and Greek. There was no cover, and it was bound with red thread. Its contents included concepts of memory reincarnation and a third state of consciousness. A professor from the University of Chicago commented, "This appears to be a handwritten translation of unregistered scriptures, with some sections resembling the Rig Veda, but focusing on self-illusion and the mechanisms of fragmented memory." One passage refers to the mirror keeper, the only individual permitted to lock away the light within. When the FBI conducted fingerprint analysis on the pages, DNA belonging to Danielle and Frank Fritz was identified. Among the most concerning items was a 47-minute audio recording labeled 02072024, 3:33 a.m. The recording begins with a repetitive chant, spoken in a low female voice in an unidentified language. Around the 14-minute mark, footsteps and the sound of a door opening are heard, followed by the familiar voice of a man saying, "I know what you're doing. Stop." There is then silence. Afterward, a whisper is heard. "You've seen it. Now you must forget." Audio experts confirmed that it was indeed Frank Fritz's voice. Even more astonishing, the analysis of the background sound waves revealed unusual frequency oscillations corresponding to gamma brainwave resonance in the prefrontal cortex. This phenomenon is often associated with hallucinations or deep meditation. This raised suspicions that Frank had either been present in the room or at least involved in a ritual that had a significant neurological impact. In the third display case, illuminated under UV light, the FBI discovered a black jade statue depicting a kneeling figure with its mouth sewn shut with red thread. On the back of the statue were 3 ancient Hittite hieroglyphs. When deciphered, it means the silent one will live longer. An Anatolian culture expert commented, "This is not a piece of art. It is the physical embodiment of an oath." Individuals involved in Central Asian secret societies often use such statues to preserve memories. Several hours after handling the statue, one of the investigating officers reported symptoms of insomnia and auditory hallucinations and had to be hospitalized for 72 hours in a psychiatric facility. Next to the statue, experts also found a handwritten note pinned to the inside of the cabinet door. The list of those who had seen inside. It lists 12 names. 6 are members of the American Pickers crew. 3 are production staff from the History Channel. 1 is a psychiatrist who had treated Danielle. 1 is Mike Wolfe. And finally, unsurprisingly, Frank Fritz. Next to his name is a symbol of an eye crossed out, accompanied by the phrase, "no longer to be seen." However, the most shocking revelation came from the financial documents. On a computer found in a hidden compartment beneath the bed, the FBI recovered an encrypted file named Orchid Vale Ledger, said Z. After decrypting it, they uncovered a transaction history from a shell company called Orchid Vale LLC to accounts under Danielle's name, totaling nearly $1.1 million over the course of 2 years. Notably, this money was traced back to a legal entity linked to Mike Wolfe, concealed through multiple offshore layers in Malta, Panama, and Luxembourg. The investigations revealed that Mike Wolfe had signed a $250,000 content consulting contract just days after Frank was hospitalized. In leaked email exchanges, one line read, "We need to ensure the story doesn't get more complicated. Let her handle it." While there was no direct evidence of criminal activity, the connection between finances, death, and ritual was undeniable. The final item was an old, worn black leather notebook with the top right corner singed. The first page had a single handwritten line, "Start where I left off." Inside, Danielle detailed each ritual, each dream, and every sleepwalking episode as she reunited with the departed, including Frank. A particularly long passage described a recurring nightmare. Frank walked through a mirror door, then turned back with bloodshot eyes, saying, "I saw it, but I shouldn't have seen it." Next to this passage was a drawing of a mask, mouthless, with 2 spiral eyes intertwined, and the final line written in red ink. "If they find it, everything will start over." After the evidence inventory process was completed, a senior agent from the U.S. Department of Energy, who had been invited for assistance, briefly stated in a classified report, "We are no longer within the realm of criminology. We are entering a layer of consciousness that science has yet to define. That room didn't just contain objects. It is a map of the second world." From that point onward, every definition of truth and crime in the Danielle Colby case was irrevocably changed. 4. Oculus, Veritas, the secret society and its forbidden symbol. When the symbol of the spiral eye repeatedly appeared among the artifacts and documents seized from Danielle Colby's residence, FBI agents initially believed they were dealing with a form of personal superstition or eccentric art. However, as the symbolism experts from the Smithsonian Institution began connecting the dots, a long-forgotten name gradually emerged from religious libraries and secret archives across Europe. Oculus Veritas, also known as the Keeper of the Final Gaze. The name had never been mentioned in mainstream media nor found in official academic records. However, scattered clues from manuscripts at the Monte Cassino Monastery, unclassified Vatican directories, and fragmented notes from philosopher Giordano Bruno suggested the secret and long-standing existence of this organization for over 800 years. Oculus Veritas is believed to be a group that split off from the medieval Hermetica societies originating from post-Han Alexandria. If you found this story intriguing, don't forget to like, share this video with your friends, and explore the unexplainable mysteries together. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next thrilling and mysterious episodes. Let's continue to dive deep into truths you may have never imagined. Thank you for watching. They did not build temples or conduct public rituals, but existed as scattered thought groups, uniting individuals who believed that all knowledge must come at a cost, and not everyone deserves to know it. The central symbol of Oculus Veritas is the single spiraling eye, a gaze not directed outward but inward, delving deep into layers of consciousness. This symbol had once been banned by the church after the incident in Prague in 1613, when an entire monastic order went through collective madness following a ritual called opening the eye while asleep. According to a Latin manuscript kept secret at the National Library of France, this ritual required participants to meditate in complete darkness for 72 hours, facing a mirror engraved with the symbol of the single eye, while drinking a concoction made from mugwort. A chilling coincidence is that the FBI discovered a copy of the Opening the Eye manuscript in Danielle's room, along with a mirror illuminated by UV light, simulating the ancient ritual, and a herbal tea blend containing mugwort and the poisonous plant belladonna, which was used in Hecate worship rituals. But Danielle's connection to Oculus Veritas did not stop with the artifacts. Travel data reports show that she was in New Orleans at the end of October 2018, coinciding with a secret gathering at St. Anne's Church, a location previously suspected of hosting illegal mystical rituals. An independent photojournalist captured an image of Danielle entering through a side door. Even more intriguing, at the same time, an ancient goatskin map disappeared from the Tulane University Library. The FBI confirmed that this map was found in her room, marking an area in the Appalachians, referred to in Oculus legend as the third spiral of consciousness. Security camera footage revealed that Danielle performed meditation rituals exactly at 3:33 a.m., a sacred hour in occultism known as the boundary opening hour. Strangely, one of these meditation sessions coincided precisely with the time of Frank Fritz's death at the care facility. Medical sensors and EEG devices recorded a sudden brain activity spike at 3:33 a.m., though the cause remains unidentified. A secret social researcher from the University of Bonn, Germany, spoke about Oculus Veritas. They are not a cult. They do not worship deities or perform sacrifices. They are a living ideology, passed from person to person like a virus of knowledge. They do not need to be exploited. They only need to be seen. The unsettling truth is that the evidence suggests Danielle was not only a member, but also the one who activated the symbol. In a hidden journal, she wrote, "Not everyone should be seen, but I am the remaining I." This raises a significant question. Is Danielle the guardian or activator of a hidden piece of knowledge? After the case, many scholars began to reassess documents once classified as heretical by the Vatican. It mentions cognitive masks, 7 items representing the senses: sight, sound, emotion, memory, language, space, and truth. Each mask is crafted from an unstudied alloy, only compatible with individuals possessing a special neural structure. A Vatican manuscript lost in 1932 states, "Each person who wears a mask is a gatekeeper. If the wrong door is opened, the world will never be the same." This led the FBI to wonder, did Danielle possess one of the masks? And if so, had she used it? EEG data shows that the emotional and inhibitory regions were almost paralyzed, while the prefrontal cortex was operating at unprecedented high frequencies not seen in Johns Hopkins records. A chilling hypothesis began to form. Perhaps Danielle wasn't the murderer, but rather the one suppressing a phenomenon or an entity to prevent it from breaking free. The behaviors considered unusual, the silence, the rituals at 333, the mysterious symbols, were not criminal acts. They were protective acts. It's possible that Frank was not just an old friend. Perhaps he was part of the ritual. And his death wasn't an end, but a key to unlocking something. And if the theory of oculus veritas is true, Danielle was not acting alone. Each person wearing a mask is a part of a circle. What about the others? Where are they? What do they know? And is the FBI uncovering a criminal, or are they unintentionally disrupting a delicate balance that no one has ever fully understood? 5. Danielle's journals were never meant for anyone else. Among the sealed items was an old leather notebook with black stitching and a faint inscription in the lower right corner. Per lucem perenibras, through light, through darkness. This notebook was tucked between ancient sketches and an embroidered cloth depicting an eye bleeding. Initially, agents thought it was just random notes from an artist. However, when experts analyzed the handwriting and compared it to Danielle Colby's writing style, they realized this was the key to unlocking the mind of the central figure in the investigation. The notebook was encrypted with a biometric lock system. It could only be opened with Danielle's fingerprint. After obtaining a legal warrant, the FBI used sample data to access the notebook. Inside were nearly 200 pages of handwritten text, mostly in Old English, interspersed with passages in Latin, Greek, and occasionally unidentifiable characters. This was not an ordinary journal. It was a chronicle of psychology, rituals, and dreams spanning 7 years, documenting every ritualistic state and hallucination Danielle had experienced since beginning her study of deep consciousness structures. The journal begins with trembling lines. Day 1, I didn't choose this. It chose me. Everything began. She describes waking up in the middle of the night, yet still dreaming, feeling as if her body was being pulled. as if her soul had detached from her body and was moving through an endless mirror hallway. Many pages of the journal recount recurring dreams. A room with 7 doors, each adorned with a different symbol. But only one door could be opened. When she opened the wrong door, Danielle found herself facing different versions of herself, crying, laughing, or dying. Notably, there is a series of recurring dreams in June 2024, just 2 months before Frank Fritz's death. She writes, "Frank appeared. Not the Frank I knew, but the Frank who had seen. He stood there, blood pouring from his eyes, holding a broken mirror. He said, 'I've seen what I shouldn't have seen, and now I can't stop looking.'" The journal suggests that Danielle believed the ritual mirror in her bedroom was a gateway, where those who looked long enough would perceive the true layer of the world. But at the same time, she also warned that once you've looked, you cannot unsee, and not everyone can endure the truth once it is no longer concealed by reality. A passage spanning nearly 5 pages describes the ritual locking the testimony, where the practitioner must remain silent for 49 consecutive days. No speaking, no writing, no recording. Otherwise, the truth will fragment and spill out. The statue of a person with their mouth sewn shut, found in the room, is direct evidence of this ritual. In the journal, Danielle wrote, "When Frank entered the room for the last time, he broke the silence. I don't blame him, but I had no other choice." The final page of the notebook shocked the entire investigation team. It was written in red ink with a shaky, hurried hand, as if driven by emotion or panic. "Frank has seen. I cannot let that happen again. If I don't lock it, someone else will open it. And once it's opened, the world will never be the same." Accompanying that page was a hand-drawn map marking a location called the Reflection Site in the Kentucky borderlands. The location matched the coordinates of an ancient map that the investigation team had discovered earlier. This raised the theory that the activation ritual may have taken place there, and Frank could have participated with Danielle in a ritual before the events occurred. One notable point was the list of reflections that Danielle had written on a separate page. Among them were the names of individuals who had appeared with her on seasons of American Pickers, even guests who had appeared only once, people who may have seen what they should not have seen without even knowing it. Next to some of the names was a spiral cross symbol. Investigators speculated that these were individuals who were either unfit or had seen too much. The journal also revealed a possibility that had not been mentioned before. Danielle was not only the keeper of knowledge, but also the creator of the rituals. She had documented every step of designing the mirrors, how to arrange UV lights to reflect frequencies matching theta brainwaves, and how to blend essential oils to guide consciousness into a trance-like state while awake, a state in theology referred to as awakening and illusion. A passage near the end was considered by experts as a manifesto against knowledge. "We think the truth will set us free, but that's just a sweet lie. The truth doesn't set us free. It only keeps you from sleeping peacefully again." The evidence in the journal, combined with physical evidence, led the investigative team to the conclusion that Danielle not only knew, but had actively designed the entire ideology and rituals that took place in the privacy of her living space, possibly to preserve forbidden knowledge or conceal something far deeper. The question remains unanswered. Did she truly believe in what she wrote? Or was it the result of obsession, delusion, or the influence of an ancient artifact? A neuroscientist on the investigative team stated, "Danielle's mind can no longer distinguish between dream and reality. But that doesn't make what she created any less dangerous. On the contrary, it makes everything uncontrollable." And from the pages not meant for anyone else, a chilling conclusion was revealed. Frank Fritz may have died because he saw something he shouldn't have, and Danielle Colby, as the gatekeeper, allowed that to happen. 6. Psychological phenomena and science that exceed the capacity for explanation. Just 3 days after the FBI agents completed the seizure and transfer of all the items from Danielle K's bedroom to the Langley Analysis Center, strange reports began to emerge. These reports did not come from the media, but from those who had directly handled the objects during the investigation. A senior agent responsible for cataloging the artifacts had to be hospitalized after continuously feeling as though he was being watched through a mirror, despite there being no mirrors in the isolation room. An image analyst reported hearing a voice inside his head while reviewing video footage of the room search. Even a linguist on the team who was analyzing documents described experiencing prolonged insomnia and sleepwalking after handling a manuscript written in an ancient script of unclear origin. As the situation grew more severe, the FBI invited a team of psychiatrists from Johns Hopkins to join the investigation. Dr. Elaine Roberts, an expert in the study of the effects of geometric patterns on the brain, was the first to propose the concept of embedded prototype contagion. This phenomenon occurs when individuals come into contact with symbols featuring specific structures, such as logarithmic spirals or fractal matrices, which trigger involuntary cognitive responses. These responses can lead to obsessive thoughts, delusions, or the recall of memories that do not belong to the individual. She said, "I cannot confirm that these objects are cursed. However, it is clear that they possess the power to influence the subconscious in ways far beyond ordinary reflexive visual mechanisms." An internal report indicated that 6 out of the 11 people who participated in analyzing the artifacts experienced similar dreams about a mirror room with no way out, where a woman meditated in darkness with a mirror in front of her, continuously changing its reflection. The coincidence in these dreams led the research team to name the phenomenon memory resonance. A term that had previously been mentioned in studies on collective amnesia during the medieval period. In a limited experiment, experts placed a sample map from Danielle's room into a functioning MRI scanner. When subjects, unaware of the case, looked at the map for 45 seconds, doctors observed abnormalities in the activity of the medial temporal lobe, an area associated with emotional memory and metaphorical imagery. One person said, "I felt like I was standing in a cave." I heard a voice inviting me in, but I didn't dare enter. During further investigation, the research team discovered a parchment hidden behind a painting in Danielle's room. Inside was a diagram resembling an electrical schematic, but instead of technical symbols, it featured ancient symbols arranged in a spiral with the Latin inscription Resonantia Monumenti, the echo of memory. This parchment described a method of connecting physical objects to collective memory through light, sound, and ritual. From there, a new hypothesis emerged. Danielle's bedroom may have been more than just a place to live. It was a resonator, a space designed to enable awareness that transcends time and language. Physicists from the U.S. Department of Defense Brainwave Research Institute, NINDDS, were invited to participate in the study. They detected an unusual low-frequency magnetic field in the room, oscillating at 43, a frequency that does not exist in the electrical grid or natural waves. This frequency matches theta brainwaves, a state in which individuals can easily access deep memories, artistic inspiration, or even hallucinations. Dr. Mark Lell of NINDS concluded that whether Danielle was aware of it or not, she had created a space where she could interact with the consciousness of others. It was not a matter of belief or crime, but of structure. She had built a perception amplifier. In this view, all of Danielle's strange behavior, from her mirror rituals to her 3:33 a.m. meditation, was intentional. No longer superstitious, these are precise technical actions that manipulate perception and memory through the arrangement of space, sound, light, and objects. Yet the effects are undeniable. People who have had prolonged exposure to the objects, including a photojournalist who secretly entered Danielle's home to film, have reported insomnia, uncontrolled seizures, and auditory hallucinations. "I could hear chanting even when the room was completely quiet," the person said. "Every time I think about the case, I feel like I'm not myself anymore." To minimize the effects, the FBI has put all artifacts into sensory isolation mode. In this mode, the items can only be accessed in a sterile white light environment, and no one can stay in the room for more than 10 minutes. Reports of effects are still being monitored, while an interdisciplinary psychiatric team has begun investigating the phenomenon of closed mirror reflections based on recordings of Danielle's rituals. At this point, the question was no longer, did Danielle kill Frank? But what was Danielle exposed to, and whether it continued to affect others? Because if a room could change the human nervous system, this case had gone beyond the realm of normal forensics. It had entered the realm of cognitive manipulation, and Danielle Colby was no longer a suspect, but the central figure in a surreal experiment that humanity was not prepared to face. Seven. Danielle, guardian of secrets, or victim of forbidden knowledge. As Danielle Colby's case moved from internal affairs to federal court, public opinion began to split. Journalists, scholars, and the public were divided. One camp believed she was a dangerous accomplice who had deliberately manipulated the ritual to control consciousness and indirectly caused Frank Fritz's death. The other, quieter but no less determined, asked, did Danielle really understand what she was holding? Or was she simply a victim of a knowledge beyond her control? A quote from Danielle's diary is repeated in academic forums. "Not everyone knows, and I was wrong to let Frank see." These words are less a confession than a vow, not to a person, but to an invisible principle she feels compelled to defend. Experts are beginning to see Danielle in a different light. Danielle is not a guru or a cultist, Dr. Marcus Elgin, an expert on Western mysticism and intellectual history at the University of Michigan, wrote in The Atlantic. She is someone chosen by an ideology to protect it. And when protectors begin to understand the truth, they are no longer human. They become tools. One prominent theory is that Danielle has not been herself since the 2018 Open Your Eyes and Sleep ritual she recorded in her journal. In internal psychological analyses, experts noted a marked change in her word choice, handwriting, and even facial expressions. "I don't know if I should call it two personalities or two different frequencies of the same person," one agent commented. Whether as guardian or victim, Danielle's silence had irreversible consequences. Frank Fritz, despite his underlying health problems, did not deserve to die in a state of confusion, surrounded by metaphors that no one but her could understand. Danielle chose to remain silent, and thus the truth was buried with Frank until that bedroom was opened. Legally, the defense argued that Danielle was not a murderer. She was merely withholding something that no one else had ever been willing to have access to. Morally, however, the question remains unanswered. If knowing the truth could kill, but choosing to withhold it anyway, does that constitute a crime in the federal detention center where Danielle is being held pending trial? She did not meet with her lawyer weekly, did not call her family, and did not write letters asking for a pardon. A staff member at the facility revealed that Danielle only requested special writing paper and a pen to continue writing in a diary that she called her history that was not allowed to be remembered. Perhaps the judgment of society was less important to Danielle than the judgment of the system of knowledge to which she believed herself to belong. And if that were true, the tragedy would not have begun with the death of Frank Fritz. The story of Danielle Colby and the secrets hidden in her bedroom is still unfinished. Despite the conclusions and horrifying discoveries, the biggest question remains. Do we really know everything that happened? Her dark secrets could still be the key to a whole different world, a world that not everyone is ready to face. So what do you think about this case? Is Danielle really a victim of her own creation? Or was she the one who created the events? Share your thoughts in the comments section below this video. If you find this story fascinating and want to continue exploring unsolved mysteries, don't forget to like and share the video with your friends. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next episodes, where we continue to delve into the horror and mystery. Thanks for watching, and join us in exploring more of these wonders.